Hello, everyone. Many people have been asking me for a long time about guardian angels, who they are, if they exist at all. In the previous video, I briefly touched on this subject, and I think now the time has come to talk about it in more detail. This topic also partially relates to the Caucus, or Council of our Universe, and it also touches on the subject of the capture of our parallel universe, because these points are somewhat interlinked. First, I want to say something honestly. I was very nervous about posting the previous video, the one where I talked about how I see the subtle plane. For me, talking about personal matters is a bit unusual. It's one thing to share something personal with someone you know, but what I discuss, seeing things others don't since childhood, is not something you can easily talk about. There are certain reasons why you get used to keeping such things to yourself, so psychologically, it's somewhat uncomfortable. I overcame this discomfort at about 20 years old, deciding that I would speak openly about myself, to those close to me, to people around me. I told myself I wouldn't keep it all inside, I would speak to the world about it. However, doing so on a wide public platform, to people I don't even know, and sharing such personal moments is another matter. I must express my gratitude. I read the comments and I saw such a warm response to my story, to what I see and hear. Many of you began to share what you experienced in childhood, what you felt, what you heard and saw. By the way, regarding and sparks, many wrote that they also see these sparks. I want to say to those who see sparks, to those who are rising to higher vibrations, who are disconnecting from their attachments and so forth, that these sparks are one of the signs that you are doing well energetically. It doesn't necessarily mean you suddenly see the subtle plane in full detail, but at least you start noticing such elementary things like pulsations, sparks in the air. Before 2021, I saw pulsations as dark. I've mentioned that I see a pulsating energy in the air, plus sparks floating within this pulsation. Until the summer of 2021, this pulsation was dark, like blackish energy. After the summer of 2021, I was so inspired and happy because for the first time ever, I saw that the pulsation was no longer dark, it became white. This meant the energy of our parallel had changed significantly. This is a huge indication that something is happening, that this isn't just a hallucination. Even though our source, what I've called Todefisto, or the wellspring of our parallels, still, it fully opens. It's starting to release small bursts of energy. It's not functioning at full capacity, but I hope that sometime this year, or at worst next year, our source will begin to function fully. Even now, it's partially working, releasing small bursts. If you have an internal urge or desire, you might try to direct an intention toward helping the source free itself and awaken, so that we can restore the connection between our parallel soul and the soul of this universe. This is extremely important for the awakening of everyone else too, because even if a person doesn't have a direct link between their soul and consciousness, or between their soul and the center of the universe, at least through the source of our universe, through the soul of our Momir Ozdeni in the world creation, they might get such a connection. If that is restored, it would help many people wake up. If that central energy point is opened, it will restore people's link to the soul of the universe and eventually to the center of the entire cosmos. For now, the dark forces are desperately trying to keep this center closed off. They've blocked it. If it were to open, everyone here, even those who are not yet awakened, would start receiving energy through it. In the future, I'll draw or explain how all these connections work. Right now, just remember that our source is very important. If you feel like you can help by sending intentions or energy to awaken the source located near the North Pole, please do so. It's important for the broader awakening process. But let's move on to the topic of guardian angels. As I said, I began seeing them around age 11. After my awakening, it's not that I heard voices in my head, but I did start having partial communication, feeling their presence and realizing that they're not some kind of negative entity or a manipulator, but something supportive. I can't say they are mentors or teachers who explain everything. Rather, I felt that their role was to protect me, to act like a safety net. First and foremost, what you need to understand is that guardian angels do not serve as spiritual teachers or leaders who show you the way. More than anything else, they are like insurance. If you imagine you're about to jump into a chasm attached to a bungee cord, they are your harness, ensuring you don't crash on the rocks below. Throughout my life, I've met only one other person who saw and understood guardian angels the same way I do. Most teachings about them are incorrect. Some teachings come closer to the truth, but they still distort it. I've encountered only one person who could also see and hear them and truly understand who they are. We verified each other's perceptions. I described how I see my guardian angel, and he described how he sees mine, and both descriptions matched perfectly. After that, I realized he wasn't just making claims, he genuinely saw them. Many people claim to see guardian angels that supposedly sit down and give them revelations, cosmic truths, or dictate entire books of knowledge. I've seen these stories, and each time I've thought that either my angels are different or somebody's being deceived. My angels never sat me down to explain how the universe works. In fact, we often argued because they never fully explained anything. They follow the law of free will meticulously. They're here to keep you from plunging to your doom, not to solve your problems or tell you all the secrets. It's like parents teaching a child to ride a bike. They hold the bike so the child doesn't fall and hurt themselves, but they don't pedal for the child. The child must learn to ride on their own. Now, who are guardian angels exactly? They are souls of people who once lived here, who have incarnated and know what to expect in this world. Depending on how powerful the soul is that's incarnating, a certain number of guardian angels may be assigned. A strong, high-level soul might receive more guardians, because if that soul messes up in this environment, it can cause enormous upheavals. I've personally never seen anyone with more than 3 guardian angels. The minimum I've seen is one. Typically, everyone has one. I've seen a few rare cases with 2, and 1 or 2 cases with 3. I'm not sure what determines the exact number. Perhaps it depends on the soul's mission, their tasks, and how much protection they need. Now, let's address a common myth. Some people believe that guardian angels are ancestors, grandmothers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, great-grandmothers, spirits of the family line who protect us. This is not correct, or at least not entirely. If we consider that all souls originated from one source, you could say everyone is related. Genetics here are all mixed up. If we look at things from a purely spiritual standpoint, any soul could be considered a distant relative. But guardian angels do not generally come from your bloodline. I have encountered only one case where a guardian angel was indeed a relative who had died before the child's birth. This person had waited eagerly for the soul to incarnate, and on a higher level, there had been an agreement that after death, he would become the child's guardian angel. It was a special arrangement. Aside from that, no, it's not your ancestors. For example, my husband's guardian angel was once a Korean soldier from the time of the conflict that split Korea into North and South. He chose death rather than kill another human being, and after death he became a guardian angel. Another example, one of my children's guardian angels used to be a Native American from the United States, living in a reservation period not so long ago. My guardian angels are also not related to me by blood. They come from different times, places, and even from different parallels. Some guardian angels might have been incarnated in this parallel at all. In one case, I've seen a person who incarnated here for the first time, having come from another Mir Ozdani, a world system, and his guardian angel was also from that other place. They came here together, but only one incarnated, while the other remained as a guardian angel. So the idea that guardian angels must be related by blood or belong to your family line is incorrect. Another myth that guardian angels are some kind of mystical non-human entities totally different from us. No, they are souls just like ours. who once incarnated as humans, or in some cases as other beings in other parallels, who now serve as a safety line for us in these difficult conditions. They're often asked in the office of our universe, the council of our mere Ozdani, if they would like this experience, acting as a guardian angel to someone incarnating in these challenging conditions. Sometimes these guardian angels have previous experience, sometimes they don't. They're basically volunteers who agree to help secure the incarnating soul. I remember being an angel for someone else in another life. I remember the pain I felt when that person made terrible decisions, warlike decisions condemning many people to death. As a guardian angel, it was agonizing, although he justified himself by saying, "It's an order, I can't do otherwise." The responsibility still fell on me. He chose to follow that order, and I felt his choices deeply. This is the kind of emotional burden guardian angels carry. Angels do not show up saying, "Hello, I'm your angel. Let's talk about the universe." Often, they communicate through subtle signs, intuition, or by preventing accidents. They won't sit you down to lecture you. I've read books where someone claims to have channeled their guardian angel who explained cosmic laws in detail. From my experience, this is suspicious. My angels and I often argued because they never just explained anything. They would say, "You have to figure it out yourself." They strictly respect free will. They're like parents running behind a child learning to ride a bike, holding it so the child doesn't fall, but letting the child pedal alone, learn alone. Let's clarify what angels truly are. They're people, souls who once lived here or elsewhere, who have agreed to act as your safety line. The stronger the soul, the greater the risk it poses if it goes astray, so it might get more angels. But in most cases, I've seen only one. The number of angels isn't determined by family ties or ancestors. One angel might have been German centuries ago, another might come from a different timeline or parallel. Race, nationality, and language mean nothing to them now. Souls don't have races or languages in that sense. This physical identity is temporary. One incarnation you're here, another incarnation you're elsewhere. Some might wonder if angels come from a single lineage or if it's always random. There is no standard rule. Sometimes you might have a guardian angel from the same parallel, sometimes not. I've even seen angels and wards who came from completely different backgrounds. The key point is that they volunteered to guide and protect you. At death, a soul might be given the choice by the council of the Mir Ozdani. Do you want to try being a guardian angel next time? Some agree for those who have a powerful mission. Angels carry a heavy responsibility, and they know what's at stake if the soul they protect fails. About the idea that they might be ancestors, as I said, it can happen, but it's exceedingly rare and only through special prior agreements. In 99.9% of cases, there's no blood relation. My husband's angel was a Korean soldier unrelated to him by blood. One of my kids' angels was a Native American, also unrelated. My angels were from completely different places, no family ties. Some never incarnated in this reality at all. Another important point: angels are not normal in other universes or even other parallels of our own universe. In normal conditions, where a soul is fully connected to its consciousness, its higher self, its universal source, there's no need for guardian angels. Angels are an emergency measure created because our parallel is captured by dark forces. It's a temporary and unusual measure. Normally, souls don't need a safety line. We're supposed to be fully aware and powerful. But here we're cut off from the soul's direct connection, from the universal center. So angels were introduced to ensure we at least have some backup. If you recall from my earlier videos, we are currently passing through the darker, lower parts of the universe, like a journey through dense, negative layers. About 300 years ago, the dark forces achieved a significant victory here and fully isolated us. The council considered whether to allow incarnations to continue under such hostile conditions or to shut everything down. They could have halted incarnations entirely, like pressing pause, and waited until we passed back into lighter realms. but they decided to continue, hoping we'd reach the boundary of the lighter worlds, get external help, and restore everything. Guardian angels are part of this compromise, acting as safety lines, because without them we'd have been at an even higher risk of being lost to darkness. Now, I know some will say, this is horrible. Why would they let us continue incarnating and suffering under dark control? Consider the alternative, wiping everything out. That would also be harsh. There is no easy solution. Many souls consented to continue incarnating here, understanding the risks. Others did not and chose not to incarnate. For those who did, the angels and other protective measures were implemented. It's a worst-case scenario, a forced compromise to hold on until reinforcements come or we cross into a lighter density. From personal experience, I'm extremely grateful to my guardian angels because now that I've fully awakened and remembered everything, I see what they prevented and how they guided me away from deadly traps. At the time, I didn't understand their motives. I just knew they never let me find a teacher or get stuck in a manipulative situation. They always said, you must learn on your own. Now I understand they did it for my own good, so that I wouldn't rely on external sources that could be controlled by dark entities. They respected my free will, never forced me, but firmly steered me away from certain pitfalls. Only now, after my third major awakening phase, do I fully appreciate their role. I mentioned that at one stage in my teenage years, I really wanted to find a teacher who could explain what was happening to me, why I saw, what my abilities meant. I think this is common for many people who have unusual experiences. They yearn for someone to guide them. However, this is exactly the trap the dark side sets, that when you look outward for answers, you become vulnerable. Instead of encouraging me to find a teacher, my guardian angels and the circumstances around me always led me away from that. If I tried to approach any master or mentor, it either didn't work out or I was subtly pushed in another direction. I ended up meeting people who, like me, relied on their own instincts and experiments, not on external teachers. We shared knowledge as equals, not as master and student. At the time, I was frustrated and argued a lot with my angels about why I couldn't just have a teacher who would explain everything. They insisted that I must figure it out myself, that in the future I would understand why. Only now do I realize that if I had relied on an external authority, I could have been easily misled by manipulative entities. Also, I must say something important. Guardian angels do not break the universal laws. They won't violate your free will. They won't force you to do what you don't want. They won't yank you out of a situation if you insist on going down a harmful path. Many people blame angels or higher forces. Why didn't they save me from this or that? But often we ignore our intuition and warnings. The angels can signal danger, but if you choose to ignore it, they must respect your choice. They can only do so much. They're primarily there to protect you from catastrophic situations like life-threatening incidents arranged by dark forces, when it's not your soul's chosen departure time. Think of them as an emergency parachute, not someone who will solve all your problems. Let's return to the question of how angels appear to me. I see them behind a person, as if standing a bit to the rear. Why the rear? Because we usually look forward and don't see what's behind us. Dark entities often try to sneak up from behind. By positioning themselves behind us, angels can watch our blind spot. But note, they are not always visible. They exist in a dimension slightly above the astral plane. Astral vision alone might not reveal them. You need access to a higher mental level to perceive them. That's why many psychics or mediums who communicate with the dead might not see guardian angels, because they're focused on the astral layer, while angels exist in a more subtle dimension. To see or communicate with them, you have to tune into a higher frequency, a sort of subspace beyond the astral. Also, angels have personalities. Some are very quiet and don't like to chat. Others are more talkative and excited if someone can perceive them. They think it's cool and might communicate more. But whether they talk or not, they won't betray their mission or the rules. They won't give you step by step instructions. for living your life. They might give subtle hints, protect you in critical moments, and sometimes directly warn you. For example, I once got a very direct mental shout to turn around, and when I did so on an energetic level, I caught a dark entity lurking behind me. This saved me from an ambush. Such direct interventions are rare but happen when necessary. Regarding their appearances, I see them in the form they had in their last incarnation. This doesn't mean they are stuck in that form, it's just a convenient way for them to appear here. Souls don't have a permanent form. Today you're a Russian girl, tomorrow you might be an African man, the next day an alien from another star system. The physical identity is just a temporary mask. But angels often show themselves in the image of their last life on Earth, or whichever world they last inhabited, because it's a stable, familiar form that resonates with their energy imprint. Another crucial point: angels are not teachers. If some entity claims to be your guardian angel and starts explaining universal laws to you, describing grand cosmic schemes, it's suspicious. True guardian angels prioritize your free will and your self-discovery. If they sense you need advice, they may give subtle guidance or energetic support, but never a lecture or a forced lesson. They also might shield you from certain experiences they know are not needed for your growth. Perhaps in a past life they learned a painful lesson and decide to protect you from repeating that mistake because it doesn't serve your current evolutionary path. However, this protection is still subtle and never violates your free will. Now, let's talk about why angels exist here and not in other places. In healthy universes or parallels, souls incarnate fully connected to their own higher aspects, so no guardian angels are needed. Here, we are cut off from our source by dark manipulations. Angels, as I mentioned, are a new measure, an unusual solution introduced when this parallel was overtaken by dark forces. 300 years ago, after we lost a critical war, the council debated whether to continue incarnations or not. They decided to keep going and introduce guardian angels as a safety measure. The soul doesn't come down alone into this harsh environment, it's accompanied by a guardian angel acting like a safety rope. If something goes terribly wrong, the angel tries to mitigate it. Sometimes angels perform miraculous saves. Imagine a car accident scenario: a person should have been killed outright, but instead escapes with minor scratches. People say he was born in a shirt, implying extreme luck. In reality, it might have been a desperate angel who managed to tweak energy lines, influencing reality at the last second to prevent a fatal outcome. Afterwards, the angel might be left shaken by the effort. Yes, angels can alter reality in critical moments, but it's not easy and comes at an energetic cost. This shows how deeply they care. In these dire circumstances, their role is immense, yet they remain behind the scenes, unrecognized and unthanked, just doing their duty. Recall moments in your life when you narrowly escaped serious harm. Perhaps your angel helped you then. These angels might be quietly steering events so that you meet the right people, avoid certain places, or dodge deadly threats arranged by dark forces. They can't fix everything. If you're determined to make harmful choices, they must let you. But they'll try to give you every opportunity to realize the danger and change course before it's too late. The way I see them, angels occupy a space between the astral and the mental plane. Astral sight alone can't see them. Many mediums who talk to the dead can't see angels because they don't shift their consciousness high enough. Angels hide in this sub-dimension for their own safety too, so dark entities can't easily reach them. When I want to contact an angel, I focus on that subspace. I don't say they're impossible to find, but it's not straightforward. Also, angels don't like unnecessary attention. If you try to talk to them out of idle curiosity, they might not respond. I've met angels who barely said a word, and some who were chatty. It depends on their personality. Remember, they are souls with their own histories and traits. Just because they're angels doesn't mean they're uniform. Some can be grumpy, reserved, or super serious. Others can be friendly and playful, but all share a commitment to protecting their assigned soul. That's their mission. They're like comrades who volunteer to stand guard while you undertake a dangerous mission behind enemy lines. Because we're in a captured parallel, angels are sent. In a normal scenario, a soul wouldn't need such protection. Normally, you'd incarnate with full memory and power, no need for a guardian. Here we're cut off from our memory, powers, and connections. The angels help ensure we're not completely at the mercy of other dark tricks. On other parallels that haven't been captured, angels as a concept don't exist. This should underline the severity of our situation. Also, note that not all souls get angels. Most people do, but I can't say everyone. I've seen a few who had none, maybe because their soul's path or agreements are different. Perhaps they're from darker backgrounds themselves, or chosen a path that excludes angelic help. But these cases are rare. In general, angels are present to at least provide basic safety measures. Another detail, angels don't come here permanently. They remain until the soul they protect returns home or no longer needs them. After that, the angel can move on to other tasks, reincarnate again, or choose another role. Being a guardian angel is a temporary assignment, a learning experience for them as well. They gain insights by observing from this vantage point. I mentioned earlier that I've tried changing densities of matter, adjusting energies, and that I've interacted with various entities on the subtle plane. Similarly, angels have their own ways of intervening when absolutely necessary. But remember, they cannot break the law of free will. If you insist on a harmful path, they won't stop you. Yet, in cases where dark forces try to kill you prematurely out before your soul's planned departure, they will step in. Their intervention might feel like a sudden lucky break or an inexplicable event that saved your life. People often say, got lucky or miracle happened. In reality, your guardian angel may have worked behind the scenes. Let's return again to the uniqueness of our situation. We have guardian angels because our parallel is captured. In other parallels of our Mir Ozdani, the universe cluster, this practice does not exist. Souls normally incarnate fully aware, not needing external safety measures. Guardian angels are an emergency measure, something like a temporary patch until we regain our full abilities. In other words, you remember who you are. You don't need someone to watch your back. But here, with memories suppressed, surrounded by illusions, we'd be too vulnerable without them. About 300 years ago, after the final defeat in that war I mentioned, a difficult decision was made at the council level. They considered halting all incarnations here, just freezing this parallel until the dark era passed. But that would mean no soul could enter to help from within. Another option was to allow ongoing incarnations so that souls could gather experience, prepare for the future rescue and reconquest. But doing so meant huge risks. Ultimately, they decided to continue incarnations and introduced guardian angels to mitigate those risks. This allowed souls to keep coming in, even as the environment worsened. Some might ask, if it's so terrible, why not just destroy this parallel so the Dark Ones get nothing? Actually, the light side did consider such drastic action. But remember, it's not just dark entities here. There are millions of innocent souls. Destroying the entire parallel would mean aborting the evolutionary journey of these souls. Also, rebuilding from scratch would be long and complicated. Instead, they chose to endure, waiting for the moment when we approach the exit from the Dark Realms. Around that time, other high-level souls from brighter worlds could enter, bringing reinforcements. This is what's happening now as more awakened souls incarnate here. Sensing that we are nearing the transitional point, guardian angels play a crucial role in ensuring these awakened souls aren't snuffed out by dark forces prematurely. Imagine you're a commando dropped behind enemy lines. The angel is like a secret ally preventing your immediate capture. Without angels, many awakened souls would be destroyed before accomplishing anything. Angels help maintain a minimum level of security so you can carry out your mission. It's still dangerous, of course. Now, from my personal experience, I've told you how my angels prevented me from finding a misleading teacher. They also warned me at times not to trust certain individuals. At first, I resisted, thinking, why can't I have a mentor? Why can't I just follow this promising path? Only later did I realize how many traps were set by dark forces. Had I followed those teachers, I might have ended up entangled in harmful contracts or feeding some egregore. My angels safeguarded me. Now I'm deeply grateful for that. At the time, I sometimes argued with them, upset that they wouldn't just let me learn from someone, but they insisted I must discover truths on my own, ensuring I wasn't hijacked by illusions. Some people ask if they can communicate directly with their guardian angels. It's possible in theory, but not easy. First, you must raise your vibrations, clear your attachments, and learn to listen to your own intuition. Angels communicate subtly, through feelings, signs, synchronicities. Sometimes they might give direct warnings, but don't expect a friendly chat over coffee. They aren't here to entertain you or provide casual conversation. They're here on a mission. If you do manage to connect, it's usually for something important. Another question I've encountered: if angels are so great, why don't they just remove all the darkness? They can't. They must obey universal laws and your own soul's plans. If your soul chose certain challenges, they won't remove them. They're not here to sanitize your reality. They're here to ensure you don't get wiped out against your soul's blueprint. If your soul agreed to experience certain hardships, the angel won't block them. They'll only intervene if something deviates from the soul's plan, like if dark forces try to kill you earlier than agreed, or manipulate you into irreversible harm. Also, angels feel pain and sadness. They aren't emotionless robots. When you suffer, they empathize. They're not allowed to fix everything, so imagine their frustration. They watch their beloved charge struggle, make mistakes, suffer injustices, and they can't just step in and fix it all. They feel enormous compassion and love. This love is unconditional. They wouldn't have taken this job if they didn't care deeply. Remember, too, that guardian angels are temporary. After you die and return to the higher planes, you'll likely meet them and review what happened. You might thank them or ask questions. They might say, "See, that's why we didn't let you follow that teacher, or why we had to let you face the challenge even though it hurt us to watch." Once the mission is over, they're free to go. Perhaps in another life roles might reverse, or you might remain friends on a soul level. Some people wonder if angels could be tricked or replaced by dark entities pretending to be angels. Generally, no. Angels operate from a safe sub-dimension beyond the dark's easy reach. If you sense something posing as your guardian angel, giving bizarre instructions or demanding worship, that's not your angel. True angels never demand worship or submission. They never say, "Obey me or else." They respect your freedom. If you encounter such an entity, reject it. Real angels stay in the background, helping quietly. Sometimes when a person falls to very low vibrations and actively invites dark forces, the link with their angel can weaken. The angel never abandons them, but if a person insists on walking with darkness, the angel can do little. The person might then listen to some dark entity whispering in their head, thinking it's their guardian angel. But that's a misconception. The angel would never encourage harming others or feeding negativity, so discernment matters. Another note: after this dark period ends and we transition to a brighter era, we may no longer need guardian angels. Once we regain direct connection to our souls, to the universal source, we'll navigate reality confidently on our own. Angels will then be free to pursue other paths. Perhaps they'll reincarnate or take on other roles in the cosmic order. This guardian angel phenomenon is specific to this crisis. In a healthy world, souls just don't need that kind of external safety net. All this again emphasizes that what we consider normal here, having guardian angels, is actually abnormal. People read about angels in books and think it's universal. But it's not. It's a local adaptation to a dire situation. This should inspire gratitude towards them. Despite all difficulties, they chose to stand by us in this dangerous environment. I've given personal examples, but I haven't mentioned names or details. Obviously, I won't share personal data about others. But I've known people who discovered their angel and later understood why certain events unfolded as they did. In hindsight, many realize how often they were guided away from danger or steered towards helpful encounters. This doesn't mean you can just relax and rely entirely on your angel. You must grow, learn, and strive. The angel is a backup, not a crutch. They won't carry you through life. As for the future, once we restore our source and exit the dark realm, I expect we'll begin to remember who we are. At that point, angels may no longer be needed. We'll become self-sufficient again. Until then, let's appreciate them silently, working behind the scenes, ensuring we make it through this dark passage. Another topic some people ask: how do I know for sure that what saved me was my guardian angel and not just random luck or coincidence? Honestly, you can't always know for certain. From the outside, it might look like pure luck. Guardian angels prefer to remain unnoticed, not expecting gratitude or recognition. Only if you have developed fine-tuned perception and can sense their presence might you realize that was my angel's intervention. God, without that sensitivity, it feels like chance. But if you trust your intuition and pay attention to subtle signs, you might glimpse their hand in certain pivotal moments. People often say, if angels are real, why don't they appear physically so we can see them and believe? Again, angels must follow the laws of this world and maintain free will. Appearing openly and proving their existence would affect your decisions. You might rely on them too much or react in ways that alter your soul's intended lessons. They must remain subtle so that your life unfolds naturally. Full disclosure would break the game's rules, so to speak. This is a place of veiled lessons, and we must learn to navigate without overt supernatural signposts. Another issue: if angels love us so much, why can't they stop us from doing something horribly wrong? Because they respect free will to an extreme degree, they might warn, suggest, or create a small obstacle to make you think twice. But if you're hell bent on committing a destructive act, they can't physically restrain you. That would violate the principle of freedom. Your life is your responsibility. The angel's role is to prevent external sabotage, not to shield you from your own choices and their consequences. Some have asked me whether angels can restore lost connections or abilities for a person. For example, if your memory is blocked due to this harsh environment, can your angel unblock it? Generally, no. Your angel cannot override the matrix like system the dark forces have built. They can assist indirectly by nudging you towards information or experiences that help you awaken on your own, but they cannot just lift the veil themselves. If they did, it would again interfere with your soul's intended process of rediscovery. You must break through illusions by your own efforts, though they can support you. Consider how some people spontaneously awaken psychic abilities, meet the right person at the right time, or stumble upon crucial knowledge by sheer coincidence. Sometimes that coincidence may be your angel guiding you subtly. They can orchestrate chance meetings or bring certain information to your attention. They can't force you to accept it, but they can increase the likelihood you'll encounter what you need. Whether you seize the opportunity is up to you. There's delicate balance. Angels must help but not control. If they help too much, you lose autonomy. If they do nothing, you might be crushed by the oppressive system. They must find a middle ground. Imagine how hard this is for them, wanting to protect you from every harm, but bound by rules that forbid direct interference in your life's core lessons. Let's talk more about their perspective. Angels see the bigger picture. They know what your soul planned before incarnating. They know certain struggles are actually beneficial for your growth. They must stand by as you endure painful lessons, even if it hurts them emotionally. They understand the long-term outcome is worth it. After death, when you meet them again, you may finally comprehend their restraint. You'll see how they respected your autonomy and allowed you to earn your wisdom rather than handing it to you. People ask, can I pray to my angel and ask for help? You can talk to them mentally, no problem. They do hear you. But you must understand that no matter how earnestly you beg, They can't violate cosmic laws or your chosen path. If you ask for protection from something that isn't meant to be avoided, they can't remove it. But if you're in danger from an external unfair threat, praying might help them realize you're open to guidance, making it easier for them to intervene gently. It's less about prayer and more about being open to their subtle hints. Another question I've encountered is whether angels are involved in your relationships, career, or other mundane aspects of life. They can influence small things if it aligns with your soul's blueprint. For example, if you're meant to meet a certain person who will help you awaken, they might orchestrate a scenario where you run into each other. However, they won't micromanage your daily life. They deal with crucial forks in the road, not trivial matters. If you ask them what shoes to buy, you'll get silence. That's not their domain. They focus on important crossroads where your soul's journey is at stake. Some fear losing their guardian angel. They think, if I fall into negativity or make terrible choices, will my angel abandon me? They won't abandon you. But if you consistently reject their subtle guidance and fully embrace darkness, their ability to help diminishes. They remain present but can do very little if you align yourself with destructive forces. They don't leave, they just become observers, grieved by your downfall but powerless to stop it. If you later choose to return to the path of growth, they can resume more active support. Think of it as a safety line tethered to you. If you keep running away and twisting that line around obstacles, making it impossible for them to pull you up if you fall, the angel still holds the line but can't help. Huh? The line is there, but you've entangled yourself so thoroughly in negative patterns that even an angel can't untee the knots without your cooperation. Another misconception. Angels are not some hierarchical beings with wings and halos as depicted in religious art. Those are symbolic representations. In reality, they can look quite ordinary, taking on a subtle image of their last incarnation, wearing simple clothes and standing quietly. They don't flaunt ethereal wings or angelic attire. The winged imagery is metaphorical, symbolizing their ability to transcend physical limitations and assist from a higher realm. In practice, I see them as normal looking people, just vibrating differently. As we approach the final parts of this explanation, I want to remind you that everything I've said comes from my personal experience and from what I've observed. Your own perceptions may vary. Some might never see their angel or feel their presence, yet the angel is still there. Others might catch fleeting glimpses. There's no universal rule that you must sense them. Their mission doesn't depend on your acknowledgement. They help regardless. For those who do start sensing or suspecting angelic guidance, it can be reassuring. Knowing you're not alone in this hostile environment can give you courage. However, don't become dependent on that knowledge. Remember, you're here to develop your own strength and wisdom. The angel is a safety net, not a teacher or savior. They'll be thrilled if you learn to stand on your own spiritual legs, discovering truths by yourself. After we pass through this dark era and reconnect with our source, I believe many will meet their angels after death and understand all the subtle interventions that occurred. It will be a time of gratitude, love, and deeper understanding. For now, trust that these beings exist out of pure goodwill and are doing their best under very restricted conditions. That's the essence of who guardian angels are. They're souls like us who volunteer to act as safety lines in a deeply compromised reality. They don't demand worship or prayers, just understanding and maybe a bit of appreciation. In a healthy world, we wouldn't need them. Here, they're a blessing, a silent ally ensuring we don't walk this perilous path completely alone. I hope that everything I've said helps clarify what guardian angels truly are and why they exist in our parallel. This entire concept of angels as we know it here is not the universal norm. It's a response to the extraordinary circumstances of our world's capture by dark forces. As I mentioned, once we restore our source and move back into the lighter regions of the universe, guardian angels won't be necessary. Souls will incarnate fully aware, with direct access to their higher aspects and universal energy. Until then, we rely on this extraordinary support. People who read a lot of esoteric literature often imagine angels as some exalted, radiant beings who deliver grand revelations and preach love and light all day. They expect angels to be fonts of cosmic wisdom at their beck and call. But real guardian angels aren't here to lecture you about cosmic laws or to fill your head with grandiose teachings. They are here to ensure you don't become a casualty of the oppressive system before you can fulfill your purpose. If they do sometimes whisper encouragement or hint at a better path, it's only because your soul permits it and needs it. Even then, they remain minimalistic in their guidance. Another subtle point: in some rare cases, a person might have two or three angels if their sole mission is extremely significant, or if they handle a large amount of energy that could cause widespread consequences if misdirected. For such souls, additional guardians may be assigned to distribute the workload of their protection, or to handle different aspects of their safety. But these cases are exceptional. Also, do not confuse your guardian angels with other supportive beings that may occasionally help you. Sometimes your ancestors or certain friendly entities might watch over you temporarily, but that's different. A guardian angel is a specific role, designated by the higher council, involving a formal agreement. Your angel is bound to you until your life's plan is either fulfilled or ends. Temporary helpers come and go, but your guardian angel remains constant behind the scenes. As we move closer to times of change, when the system starts cracking and more people awaken, angels may have to work overtime. The dark side, sensing it's losing its grip, may try desperate tactics to remove key souls. Angels will try to neutralize these threats as best they can. If you suddenly avoid a dangerous situation by pure chance, consider that your angel might have orchestrated it. Still, they never expect you to bow or pray to them. Respect is fine, but they want you to stand as a strong, sovereign soul when we finally exit the dark realms and regain our fullness. Many souls will look back and realize how much protection they received without ever knowing it. They'll understand that angels were never there to limit their freedom, but to preserve the possibility of exercising that freedom in a hostile environment. The angel's greatest reward will be to see you liberated and capable of moving forward without their assistance. If someone tries to sell you a teaching claiming that angels want you to X or Y, or that you must follow certain rituals to connect with hell's angels, be cautious. Your angel doesn't need you to perform complex ceremonies or recite elaborate prayers. They are already connected to you. If you feel compelled to communicate, just speak mentally from your heart. If it's appropriate, they'll find a way to let you sense their acknowledgement. If you feel nothing, don't despair. Their help does not depend on your conscious contact. Sometimes silence is just how things must be. Another question people have asked: can angels heal me physically or remove an illness? They can sometimes subtly influence your energy field so that you find the right doc treatment or lifestyle change. They might nudge you towards solutions you didn't consider, but they won't just magically cure you against the logic of your life plan. If that illness is part of your soul's lesson, they must let you experience it. They may reduce unnecessary suffering if it aligns with your plan, but they won't eliminate essential challenges. As we near the end, I want to emphasize that all of this is complex and can't be captured fully in one explanation. Every soul, every angel, every situation is unique. There are no absolute rules. I've shared the general framework as I understand and have experienced it. In some isolated cases, there might be exceptions or unusual circumstances. The universe is vast and varied. Ultimately, the best approach is to live your life responsibly. Strive for understanding and growth, and trust that if you're here, you're not alone. There are beings who care deeply about your journey and do what they can within the rules. If you never see them, it doesn't mean that they're not working tirelessly on your behalf. If you do sense them, consider it a blessing, but don't become dependent on that feeling. Your strength comes from developing your own inner compass. When the time comes and we return to a state of clarity, you'll discover that what seemed cruel or strange here was actually part of a larger plan. You'll meet these souls who guarded you, Maybe once you were someone else's angel, or maybe in the future you'll choose to become one for another soul. Understanding breeds compassion, and compassion fuels our evolution. Angels and wards are partners in the cosmic dance of growth. If you still have doubts or feel fear, remember that fear usually arises from misunderstanding. Now that you know angels aren't mysterious overlords but compassionate helpers, maybe you can relax. They won't harm you, won't mislead you, and won't take away your free will. They respect your sovereignty, even when it pains them to watch your struggles. Love and respect flow both ways, even if you're unaware of it here. I think I've covered the main points I wanted to express. The topic is intricate and many details could be explored further, but the core idea is this guardian angels are souls like ours, serving as protective allies in a reality wounded by darkness, ensuring we aren't left completely defenseless. They do this out of love, not obligation. When this dark chapter ends, their role will fade out naturally. Until then, they remain silent and faithful, guarding our potential and our futures. Thank you for listening to all of this. I know it was a lot to take in. I hope it resonates and answers some of your questions. If you feel gratitude, direct it inward and outward. Be grateful for the resilience of your own soul, and for the silent presence of your angel. We're all part of a grand tapestry, weaving lessons and insights together. In the end, we all grow and ascend to greater understanding. That's all I wanted to say on this subject. Take care, everyone. Stay open-minded, trust your heart, and remember that no matter how hard it gets, you are never truly alone. Even if unseen and unacknowledged, your guardian angel walks with you, ensuring that you have a chance to become who you're meant to be. Keep moving forward with courage and hope. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share my channel. Become a member of my Telegram channel and discuss with like-minded people as a supporting club member.